Hey everybody, Dan Lucas from Credo here, and thank you for joining me here. We are on day 20 of our 50 states in 50 days, and we did Indiana yesterday, and now we are doing Mississippi. Hardest state to spell, but everybody knows how to spell it because teachers taught you a little song. I have a good friend that is from Mississippi. Great guy. Love his values and everything. So, I don't know much about the state from that respect, or just from perspective. I've not been there a lot. I don't know a ton of people from there. Been to Biloxi, but I know the guy. I know he's a great guy, and everything I hear about it seems to be positive. So maybe I need to get out there a little more. But I will tell you, when I started digging and doing more research on tax incentives and tax credits in Mississippi, I was kind of floored. And as I was kind of reading through it, I kept getting the feeling that, gosh, how am I going to get all this kind of consolidated into a summary, or I must be missing something. There's so much here. And then when I finally kind of got to a place where I could find a summary that they put together, it's like a booklet. It's 163 pages. I never ever have seen one that long. Not even close. I mean, I think the longest one I've ever seen is maybe 20 pages. So there's a lot of credits, but they're also very thorough in explaining the credits. So wow. I'd have to study and do more homework and research to have a formal opinion on it, but man, they're taking it seriously. There's no doubt about that. So I'm going to talk about tax incentives and tax credits, and these are focused toward more toward business. There are some exemptions that might be worth noting, but in a quote-unquote summary that is 163 pages, we don't have that kind of time. So I am going to cherry pick the ones that I think are most probably missed, but not just missed, probably they're the ones that are most frequently earned, right? So there's some real niche credits in Mississippi, and they're all very generous, but here's what I'll tell you. If you're paying Mississippi income tax or operating in Mississippi, if you have nexus in Mississippi, you live in Mississippi, and you're not getting tax credits or not taking advantage of tax incentives, you need to take a dive into this or get some help. We can help you on some certain questions, myself or my team and the Credo team, but this is huge. I mean, it's not like we're looking at 3 or 4 credits or something. It's a one-page document or a one-page web page. Or it all fits on one page. It's wow. There's a lot of stuff. So if you're in the state, you got to be looking at this stuff. There is probably money under lots of rocks here, and I guarantee people are missing a lot of these all the time. And again, it's just free money. So it's not free, but you know what I mean. All right, so I'm just going to read some of the ones in here that, and there's some that are self-explanatory. So let's just get started. So we have a jobs tax credit, okay, creating jobs, get some credits. We have national and regional headquarters tax credit, relocation tax credit, to basically like bring your business to Mississippi and we're going to take care of you. Credit like that. So you may have done that, and maybe you didn't think about that in the beginning, or maybe you didn't try to get them to lure you in for that respect. But you need to go back and get that done. Or you are thinking about moving to a different state and you're comparing, what state you should be in. Well, if it was me, I'd be looking at, personal things aside, from a business standpoint, I would be looking at the states that have the most favorable tax incentives, certainly. There's a research and development skills tax credit. Again, that's a federal credit. I mean, there's a federal credit involved. States also have a credit. A lot of times you can double dip on. It's not all states. Let's just say half and half to be safe. and a lot of people miss that one. There's a skills training tax credit. We have something in Georgia called a retraining credit, so I'm going to just assume that that is similar, and it is, you know, improving people's skills, giving people new skills, training them through a new system, et cetera, et cetera. So making somebody more productive, right? An output of more value per hour. There's a rural economic development, RED they call it. So that's a rural economic development bond tax credit. I'm assuming that if you buy bonds, basically invest money in these economic areas, geography, look at the maps. They have maps on the website. And if you're investing money in that area, you can get, it's probably just tax-free interest, I would guess, but I don't know. I haven't dug into it. Let's see. They also have the export port charges tax credit. Remember, there's a lot of product coming in and out from the Gulf in Mississippi, so that's big industry. A lot of ports. There's import charges tax credit, so export and import. So that's available if you're in that business. You can take a look at the details on that. They've got the income tax exemption for growth and prosperity areas. That's, again, goes back to the economic development of certain areas that they want to give a hand up to. And it looks like they're probably giving you an exemption for being in certain areas. I don't know how long. It could be 5-10 years, but we're not necessarily on these videos going that deep into it. It's more of, hey, this is something you might have missed. Here's a little bit about it, and it could be well worth 15-20 minutes of your time, or just send us a note, send us a question, give us a call, and we can dig a little bit and see if you really are missing something, and if it's material. All right, we got the manufacturing investment tax credit. That's not atypical. If you're in your manufacturing business, typically you're showered with tons of different incentives and credits. Okay, they assume you're employing a lot of blue collar, and they do try to help and jump on that. Let's see, you've got broadband technology tax credit. It's probably just for using broadband, I would think. Let's see, they have the equity investment new markets tax credit. It's probably similar to something like the angel investor tax credit. So if you're interested in that, I would look at that. Income tax exempt for clean. Yeah, there's some clean energy stuff, some environmental stuff. If you feel like you're doing something substantial in that area, you might want to take a look at that. There's the entertainment district incentive. I think that's, I don't know exactly what that is, but there's a lot of tax credits around the country in different states that have to do with film production, but even like live theater production, things like that. So it could be either one of those, but if you're in the entertainment industry at all, or if you're producing digital content or video content, it's definitely worth taking a look at this here. Let's see, they've got some more healthcare industry zone incentives. So a lot of geographic stuff going on where they're trying to, looks like, pull them up from sort of one level of economics to another. They've got some things for kids, a lot of things for children. So it's not necessarily business, but you're a pastor, owner, or self-employed. It can be the same difference. Let's see, they've got a lot of credits for like franchise taxes, and assuming that's like related to your business taxes. They got one for clean energy, one for aerospace industry expenses. So if you're in there, data center, a lot of data. There was data center sales tax exemption in Indiana that we talked about yesterday. So a lot of data centers get tax incentives, tax credits. Let's see. You've got lots of sales and use tax incentives, and they're giving exemptions for lots of different areas. So it looks like what they're trying to do, I would guess what they're trying to do is provide obviously incentives for whatever industry they're trying to spur on. It could be for various reasons as to why they're doing that. A lot of times it relates to jobs, right? And it's jobs which, gets people elected and raises tax revenue, right? So, um, not a secret there. They've got a sales and use tax exemption for construction or expansion, for transfer of national or regional headquarters, is not typical, for the incentives to move your headquarters to a certain state, for bond financing, that's interesting, for businesses in growth and prosperity areas, again, that's the hand up kind of geographic locations, one for broadband technology, one for clean energy, one for aerospace. Yeah, so there's a lot there. Similar to the franchise tax incentives we talked about right before this, but there's additional ones for the sales and use tax. So the list is like twice as long as the franchise tax. They have something called, and they've categorized it as rebate incentive programs, and I don't think it really works differently from a tax credit per se, except for the fact is that typically a tax credit is put on your initial return. So let's just say that I have research and development credits, and I'm going to do federal credits and I'm going to do state credits. I'm going to file my federal and state returns with those credits on there, and it's going to reduce my tax liability. My first, the tax return I actually file. The ones that are in rebates are, you file your tax return, you pay the cash, you pay the tax, and then you file for a rebate. Okay, I'm sure they're not doing it for no reason. It could be that they just don't feel like they have enough horsepower to combat fraudulent claims for these credits, and or the credits are usually big, and so in some of these areas that they can't afford to lose revenue to basically incorrect calculation. Some of it's not even intentional. It's just that some of this stuff is complicated and it's hard to calculate, and so there's just a lot of inaccurate data flying around. But anyway, in the rebate programs, you've got a job incentive program. You have a rebate for tourism, a sales tax rebate for tourism. You got motion picture production incentive, and just talked about that a couple minutes ago. So it looks like if you're like if Hollywood were to come out there or something like that, that you would have to wait and get the tax and get the money back after the fact. So I don't, I'd have to really understand if that was a big deal or not. It might be. I mean, sometimes it depends on the administrative health of where the state's at. I mean, it could be that they you send this in, you just dot I's, cross T's, you do the right things, talk to somebody there, and they cut you a check. I've seen sometimes where it's 2 years of just real pain in the neck, and it just seems hard it's almost like filing a health insurance claim. It's just tough. So that's something to keep in mind. If you were to ever depend on that, make sure like what's the reputation of, what's it like to work with them and get a rebate back, right? Is it pulling teeth, or is it pretty simple? There's a smart business rebate. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm sure that's just something where you qualify for certain, you do certain things. They make some rules. You follow the rules. You get a rebate. And that's an economic redevelopment one. That's another kind of geographic area they're trying to get a hand up to. And then they've got another area, property tax incentives. So they got lots of different families of tax credits, tax incentives. There's industrial exemptions. That's not atypical. That industry typically gets a lot of incentives offered to them. Freeport warehouse exemption. Again, that's huge industry there in Mississippi. Again, we've talked about this before. You have the growth and prosperity areas and the broadband technology. So they're obviously it's subsidizing, for all intents and purposes, certain activity in certain industries, right, for the good of the citizens of Mississippi, in theory, right? and they might be doing it very effectively. I'm just saying that not necessarily, but that's what it tells me when I look at their credits. Let's see. So that again, I'm going to stop there. If you live in Mississippi and you are in business, even if it's just a one-man show, there's so many tax credits in Mississippi that you might just want to take a look at, or I'd be happy to either myself or someone on the Credo team take a look at your Mississippi tax returns or something for the last couple of years just to see if anything pops out, because it just looks like there's a lot here to try to capture. But you know what? In a way, it can be kind of challenging because you don't want to miss anything, but at the same token, it's better to have opportunity than not. So anyway, I'm going to end it on that. And I can't remember if I said the date that it was admitted. I don't think I did. But Mississippi was the 20th state admitted to the Union, and it was admitted on December 10th, 1817. So a year after Indiana. And so that was pretty quick as far as the gap between years based on what we've had the past few states. So looks like we're picking up momentum. Sure, part of that's based on the Louisiana Purchase. Thomas Jefferson was president, but he had no idea. He knew that was a big purchase, but he had no idea how big that was. I'm not even sure, we would have ever expanded to the West Coast had he not done that. It was a big, big stepping stone. And it's unbelievable what he paid for it. I think he paid like $5 million or something. Don't quote me on that because I don't know if but it's something really small compared to what it's worth. Okay, so that's it. That's Mississippi. And tomorrow I'm going to do Illinois, which is where I was born and raised. So hopefully they won't let me down, but I do know that the Georgia credits, in my opinion, are better than Illinois. But if you live in Illinois, I'm going to go through those. We have lots of clients that live in Illinois. So hopefully we can spend a little more time on some of the credits rather than just running through a list. Okay. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Bye-bye.